Welcome to The Spotlight, the podcast where veterans and military spouses connect and share how their military experience has transformed their lives and their businesses. Here's your host, Bob Lavin.
Hey, this is your host, Bob Lavin, founder of the Veteran Crowd Network, the network that brings veterans and veteran-led businesses together with each other and the resources they need to prosper. And you are tuning into The Spotlight.
Hey, welcome everybody. My guest today is Valerie Lavin. She is the CEO of Luminary Global. It is a minority-owned, women-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business in the Tampa, Florida area. We're going to be talking about that. Also, her involvement with Bunker Labs and Action Zone. She is a United States Army veteran, First Sergeant. Top. Here we go. Welcome to the program, Valerie. Thank you for stepping into the spotlight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, let's start out. Tell us about Luminary Global. You're doing emergency supplies and tactical gear. Tell us about your business.
Yeah, so we provide, as you said, emergency, tactical, and prepper items to law enforcement, first responders, the military, the everyday, I call them citizen heroes. It just happen to be at the right place at the right time, and then preppers. And, most people have a hard time connecting the emergency and tactical gear with prepper items. But if you think about the professionals in those emergency careers, they know the importance of prepping. Yeah, so the industry kind of goes hand in hand.
So how much of your business is for the prepper, and how much of it, goes into an EMT's emergency kit? And are these things that they can't normally get elsewhere?
Well, I would say our sales are 70 to 80% emergency and tactical. And then the prepper items we get a spike in prepper sales whenever there's some sort of crisis or natural disaster. Like a couple of years ago, the earthquakes near San Diego, COVID. When COVID hit, we sold a ton of MREs and survival stuff, but the majority of our customers are direct to consumers that I like to call them with a couple of customer avatars. One is the cool guy, where the stuff that's not that's issued isn't quite cool enough, so they got to get I affectionately refer to it as a cool guy shit. And then it's unfortunate, but a lot of our first responders and law enforcement, they are not issued the best and proper gear or any at all. So a lot of times they'll pay out of pocket to purchase their own items.
Is this support gear and as well as actual devices?
Yeah, it's everything from the basic first aid kit, EMT bags, active shooter kits, school lockdown kits, then the ammo pouches, vest, sunglasses, anything that you need to be prepared and properly equipped for whatever your profession is.
How is you mentioned COVID? How has COVID affected the EMTs and first responders, particularly with relation to your business? I mean, are there certain things that you saw, that all of a sudden spiked up because of the worries about the transition of the virus?
Yes. Well, at the beginning of 2020, we had a lot of requests for PPE, which is not our business, but it's on the peripheral. As far as we have two services, if you will, in our from Luminary. We have a very robust e-commerce site where you can get just about anything under the sun, commercial off the shelf. But then we also customize. So back to your question, we had from our website a large increase in mass casualty kits, EMT bags, some safety gear like reflective vest and things like that. Then other political, I don't want to get too political, but other political instances happened. So like a lot of our tactical gear sales increased. And then, COVID, like I said, a lot of the prepper items, the long MREs, we have seeds, like gardening seeds that last longer than, other types of gardening seeds. And man, those flew off the shelf, so to speak, and they were back ordered for a very long time. Food scarcity was probably the number one reason why our prepper items sold, because it was all the things that they needed to, for sustainability for themselves and their family.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey. I mean, so you started this business in 2016.
Yeah.
How did you recognize the market in the first place? What was the genesis of this?
Well, even before Luminary, I had a veteran staffing company. When I retired in 2014. When I was going through TAPS, I was very surprised at how many of my peers, whether they had been in 6 years or 26 years, no matter what rank they were struggling with transition. How do my skills really translate? If I'm an infantry person, the only thing my skills translate to is being a cop or working in the CIF on base.
And that program stovepipes people into those types of that direction, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the whole transition process is overwhelming. So even if the transition assistance program was a little bit more broad or helped you think more broad, you're just so overwhelmed with the process that you're still, kind of looking at your life with blinders on, because what's going on outside of base, just or post, is like, it just seems so foreign. It's so far away. It doesn't really affect me. I'm still focused on my mission, and which is wherever you're working at on the post or base that you're assigned. So just to truncate that part of the story, I was encouraged by a friend and mentor who had been in the HR and recruiting industry at that time, 25 years, to start a veteran staffing company, because people came to her all the time saying, I want to hire a veteran. And she's like, I can't find them. And when I do, I really don't understand their resumes. They can't articulate to me what the resume means. So I tried that. Fast forward, that was my first failure. And let me tell you, it took me probably over 2 years to even admit that business had failed. Because in the military, like, failure is not an option. I wasn't used to failing. So that was, it was a hard pill to swallow. But as I became more involved in the entrepreneurial community and entrepreneurship education specifically, I realized, failure is encouraged. Fail fast, fail forward, pivot, keep going, grind it out, experiment. So my entrepreneurial journey did two things for me. One, it really helped me discover who Valerie is versus First Sergeant Ellis. And then secondly, it allowed me to admit failure. And then I guess third too, made me realize that I really suck at working alone. For the first time in my adult life, when I had my first company, I was doing something on my own.
So, what great lessons here, as an entrepreneur. I mean, you probably have, as an old saying, I say, wisdom or judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from poor judgment, right? So there's this loop going on here, and but you just got some great lessons from that. Tell me, that sounds like, when did you become involved with Bunker Labs? Because I bet I bet the people at Bunker Labs hang on every word when you tell that story.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they hang on. I don't know that my story is super exciting, but when my husband and I formed Luminary Global in 2016, and with the intent of going into government contracting. because my husband has extensive experience in government contracts, and then I, bring the military background. And it just so happened at that time I was offered an opportunity to be the program manager to build a veteran entrepreneurship resource center here in Tampa Bay area. And that allowed me to, have a retainer, a gig. I had my first client while I was trying to build Luminary. And then I started getting other customers doing, various things. And so I told my husband just at the turn of the year, so early 2017, I was like, I got to keep getting customers. And oh, by the way, I now have somebody asking for a consultant on, a staffing firm. And that was my husband's background. He did executive search for almost 15 years. So before I stole him from the company he worked for, I was like, I pay better and I cook dinner. So what do you say? Yeah. So because we did have a plan, like he would stay in his job for 12 to 18 months before leaving it. But just because the government contracting, sales process is so long. But then during that time, I had a couple of veteran and military spouses ask me to form a nonprofit called Action Zone. Right. And Action Zone specializes in the ideation stage of that entrepreneurial journey. But as we've evolved, we're now 3 years old. We really specialize in building the business, whether you're an ideation or you're an early stage startup and you're kind of stuck, or we've had people who've been in business for 30 years and they need some little extra help bringing them back to the basics. So in forming that that organization, we knew we did not want to do networking events. So Luminary Action Zone is what brought me to my current relationship with Bunker Labs. Contacted them, said, hey, we'd like to start a chapter here in Tampa. Because at that time, this was back in 2018, 2019, their flagship product, if you will, was networking. It was bringing the veteran and military spouses and the military connected community together once a month for a networking event that we now call Bunker Connect. We were very successful, or we were successful in courting them to launch here. The community was very receptive to them being here. We, every month we had anywhere between 50 to 100 veterans and military connected community attending. And then, my relationship just kind of evolved. They asked me to come on as a contractor to help with some administrative support or operation support, and then offered me a full-time position as the director of ecosystem development, overseeing the communities on the eastern side of the United States. So we have 40 communities across the country, and I oversee 19 of them right now.
That's a huge responsibility.
Honor, duty, service. At the Veteran Crowd Network, we're focused on our next mission, bringing veterans, veteran-operated businesses, and veteran service organizations together with each other and the resources they need to prosper. That's why we are launching the Veteran Crowd Rewards Program, exclusively for our individual and corporate members. Now you can save on travel, restaurants, goods, and services from brands you trust online and at over 900,000 locations nationwide. Find out more today at veterancrowdnetwork.com. If you are a veteran-operated business, or a VSO, consider the connections, the network, the benefits, the engagement, and success of working with other veterans again. The Veteran Crowd Network, you paid a lot of dues to join this club.
Hey, we're talking with Valerie Lavin. She is the CEO of Luminary Global. We've been talking about Bunker Labs. When we did the lightning round, I did that with Todd Connor, and the little known trivial fact about him is that when he went to Northwestern for college, he was the mascot. So just the next time you see him, ask him what it's like to
Uh,
dress up in a purple Wildcat uniform.
I will definitely do that.
And we'll put a shout out to Todd Connor at Bunker Labs here.
Yeah.
Hey, Valerie, let's shift gears a little bit. I'm very interested in your story. How did you wind up joining the United States Army? I mean, when did you know, how did you end up saying, you know what, I'm going to go enlist in the Army? How'd that happen?
The true story is that I was watching Private Benjamin.
Okay.
That is absolutely the truth. I went to college at the private university at that time, back in 91. It was quite expensive. I was paying for it on my own. Decided I was going to sit out for a year, save some money, and transfer to a state college. One of my friends from my freshman year, she's like, hey, I'm looking for a roommate. Will you come back to Bolivar, Missouri? I went to Southwood Baptist University for my freshman year and, be my roommate. My old employer that I had when I was a freshman, said I could go back to my job, which was waiting tables. She was a nanny and was off doing her nanny duties. I was sitting on our couch watching Private Benjamin eating a Domino's pizza with pepperoni, mushrooms, and black olives. I remember it like it was yesterday. The epiphany that I had was like, I think I should join the Army. And not that I was so naive.
Private Benjamin was sort of a tongue-in-cheek movie. I mean,
yeah,
it's not exactly the Army you entered. At least I hope
no,
not.
it was not. I was not that naive to think that it was anything like Private Benjamin. But for whatever reason, the idea just resonated with me while I was watching that show. I called my parents, like, yeah, I think I want to do this. So my dad, hooked me up with a recruiter, and I went through the process and
did you go in through Fort Jackson, or where did you
yeah,
go?
I ended up at Fort Jackson. They
I can
mentioned
share you some
something about
stories of Fort Jackson. I've actually was a training officer at Fort Jackson on Tank Hill a little bit, and then the starships as well. So there we go.
Well, they said something about if I wanted to try to go to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, where I'm from Missouri, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm joining the Army. I want to get away from Missouri. I want to explore. So they sent me to Fort Jackson, and I tell you, after the first couple of weeks and every Sunday, people that were local, their families were coming to visit. I was like, man, maybe I should have, tried to get Fort Leonard Wood. But at the end, I finished basic training, and then I was off.
When you went into the Army, did you think you would stay in, or what did you sort of think in the beginning? I'm going to do my 3 or 4 years and check out.
Yeah, well, I really didn't have any plans. But I knew when it came time for reenlistment that I couldn't make a decision on a full Army career on my first assignment, because I'd only enlisted for 3 years. And I spent almost just shy of 24 months in between basic training and AIT, the initial training. So I reenlisted. Then I got orders to Korea. So here comes Korea. And time to reenlist. And I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And I didn't feel like I could make an educated decision based off of one short, 3-year tour or enlistment, and then a short 1-year tour in Korea. So enlisted, and my next assignment, where did I go? Oh, I had a couple other assignments. Anyway, I ended up getting promoted to Sergeant First Class E7 in 7 years. And at that point, it just didn't make any sense to get out, So I was like, obviously the Army thinks I'm doing a pretty good job at this point. And
you rose pretty quickly if you got to E7 in 7 years.
Yeah, well, again, this is pre 9/11, so promotions were different, and then for our particular MOS, or my particular MOS, a lot of people were able, because of the significant, highly technical training that we were we received, we're able to get out and get civilian jobs, working maybe for Booz Allen or a government, government job. So a lot of, people, they just got out. So there was a need for promotions.
Do you think that your experience in the military have helped you be a better entrepreneur and CEO?
Absolutely, but both on the for-profit and not-for-profit front. With Luminary, we're a small operation. It's just me and my husband. What we're able to do is implement technology. So it seems like we're a much larger company. We're able to do a lot more than, which is the beauty of technology, right? We have some crises sometimes, whether it might be small ones, customer is not happy, to something, like a natural disaster where you wake up and you've got 10,000 orders that you have to process, almost immediately, and hope that the supplier that you have doesn't run out,
Right.
We have had business relationships that went very south, where, we've had to hire lawyers and look at our funding and make sure that we're still able to have operating funds and and pay the lawyer. And that's the beauty of Luminary and products, is now we don't need partners, and we don't we've been able to bootstrap everything for the most part. So being able to be agile, make quick decisions, because you can't labor over decisions when you own your own business, because the longer you labor on that decision, either the landscape and the atmosphere is going to change, or you're losing customers. So it's just got to hit the ground running
Shoot,
and keep
move, and
running.
communicate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. With the nonprofit side, because we are grant funded, so we're dependent on either grants or winning the hearts and minds of individual private donors that understand and see the same vision that we do, in what our mission is. Being able to complete the mission for every cohort with little to no funding, and figuring out what we have to cut, we have to cut as an organization in order to still deliver the programming that we know that the veterans and military spouses need to be successful entrepreneurs and have sustainable business beyond the startup stage. So and then dealing with different personalities. When you're leading a cohort of veteran and military spouses, sometimes they come into the classroom with either preconceived notions of what to expect, or maybe they think they already know everything about business, and the facilitators don't really know what they're talking about. But just being able to lead a diverse group of people from the front of the classroom, if you will. I think that skill set definitely is something I acquired involved in the military.
Hey, Valerie, last question. What does the next couple of years look like? What are you looking forward to doing? What are some of the goals that are out there?
Yeah, well, I hope that Bunker Lab, first continues to make the huge impact nationally in the military connected entrepreneur community. I hope that Action Zone has multiple offices throughout the state of Florida to begin with, so that we can help all the aspiring entrepreneurs across our great state. I love Florida. And then attract more veteran and military spouses to come here, knowing that they can live the American dream. With Luminary, we continue to build our robust e-commerce site, providing the best quality products to the heroes out there in our communities and abroad, so they have a better selection of the commercial off-the-shelf items that they're looking for. But ultimately, with Luminary, the customized kits that we do, are really the bread and butter of our company. It's what we really love to do. We just to give you a quick example, a local sheriff's department was looking for a bleeding control kit that was very specific in dimensions, so it would fit in their cargo pocket and their angel armor. We worked with not only the sheriffs that would be using it, but also the department doctor. Like, how do you train them? What products, what supplies do they use? What order do you train them to use it? So that kit not only was the dimensions they needed, but based off of what the doc shared with us and my own military experience and using gear and needing it in times of emergency, we were able to design a kit specifically for their needs. And that's just one example of a couple that we've been able to do. And the long-term goal will be that we have our own Luminary branded product line of custom products that are field tested by literally the heroes on the ground.
Great stuff. Hey, how do people get in touch with you?
LinkedIn is probably the best. And Valerie Lavin.
We'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile on the landing page, as well as
I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. The website is luminaryglobal.com. And just a small tidbit, won't find it any cheaper through any other channel than you will the website.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Hey, our guest has been Valerie Lavin. She is the CEO of Luminary Global, doing great things with Bunker Labs and the Action Zone. Valerie, thank you so much for being our guest on the Spotlight today. I really appreciate you doing this. Interesting story. And we didn't even get into everything, so we may have to get you back.
I'd be happy to come back. I really appreciate it, Bob, that you not only have me as a guest, but you help share the veteran story.
I'm having fun doing it. Hey, you've been listening to the Spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network. We're bringing veterans and entrepreneurs like Valerie into your living room every week. Valerie, I'm going to throw out a big Army Bravo Zulu to you for your performance today. Thanks so much for being our guest, folks, and that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to Spotlight by Veteran Crowd. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and uploads, please visit our website at veterancrowdnetwork.com. We'll see you next time.